You're probably stuck in the middle of one of the biggest arguments in the gym. Should I lift heavy or should I lift light? You've probably tried both. You lifted heavy because everyone told you. Heavy weights build muscle. So you went heavier. Your reps dropped. Your form got worse. And after a few weeks, your progress stalled. Then you tried lighter weights. More reps, more burning, sometimes 20, even 30 reps. And now you're wondering, am I actually building muscle or am I just getting tired? Here's where things get interesting. The problem might not be that you're using the wrong weight. It might be that you're using the right weight for the wrong goal. And once you understand that, the entire light versus heavy debate becomes much simpler. First, let's figure out if this is actually your problem. Think about the way you're training right now. Sign number 1. You're obsessed with the number on the dumbbell. If you can bench 20 kilos, you automatically assume 25 must be better. But your muscles don't care about your ego. They care about the training stimulus. Sign number 2. You believe there's one magical rep range for building muscle. Maybe you've heard 8 to 12 reps is the only way to grow. So every exercise, every workout has to fit into that range, even when it doesn't make sense. And sign number 3. You're constantly changing your weights because you're not seeing results. Heavy for a few weeks, light for a few weeks, new program, new exercises, and eventually, you don't even know what actually worked. If that sounds like you, here's the real problem. You're treating weight selection like it's the entire muscle building equation. It isn't, and this is where most people get confused. Let's start with the first mistake. Thinking heavier automatically means more muscle. Imagine you can perform 10 controlled dumbbell curls with 15 kilos. Then someone tells you, bro, use 20 kilos. That's how you'll grow. So you grab the 20. You get 6 ugly reps. Your shoulder starts moving. Your back starts helping. And technically, yes, the dumbbell is heavier. But did your biceps automatically receive a better stimulus? Not necessarily. That's the distinction most people miss. Strength and muscle size are related, but they're not the same adaptation. If your goal is to become stronger at a specific lift, heavy training is extremely useful. But if your goal is simply, I want bigger arms, a bigger chest, bigger shoulders, the answer becomes much more interesting, because you don't necessarily need to use the heaviest possible weight. And that's where the opposite mistake comes in. Thinking light weights mean easy training. So imagine 2 sets. Set A, you use a light dumbbell, but stop while the reps still feel easy. Set B, you use that same light dumbbell, but continue until the final reps become genuinely difficult. Those are 2 completely different training experiences. And that's why saying, light weights build muscle too, is technically true, but incomplete. The better question is, how hard is the set? And that brings us to another question. Do you actually need to train every set to failure? Not necessarily. This is where people often take a useful concept and turn it into an extreme rule. You don't need every set to end with you lying on the floor, questioning every decision you've ever made. Training close to failure can be useful, but taking every single set to absolute failure isn't mandatory for building muscle. What matters is that your working sets are challenging enough to create a meaningful stimulus. And now, we can finally answer the original question. Light weights or heavy weights? For muscle growth, both can work. So the real answer isn't light or heavy. It's use the load that best matches the adaptation you're trying to create. And here's how you can actually use that in the gym. First, if your goal is to increase your squat, your bench press, your deadlift, or your strength on a specific movement, heavier training makes sense. Because getting stronger isn't just about having bigger muscles. Your body also becomes better at producing force in that specific movement. But don't make the mistake of turning that into heavy is the only way to grow muscle. Those are 2 completely different statements. Second, if your priority is muscle growth, stop worrying about one magical rep range. You don't have to force every exercise into 8 to 12 reps. You can use moderate loads. You can use heavier loads. And on certain exercises, lighter loads can also work extremely well. Think about lateral raises. Trying to turn lateral raises into a heavy, low-rep exercise can become a terrible trade. You start swinging, your traps take over, your technique falls apart, and suddenly, you're training your ego more than your side delts. That's where lighter weights can be extremely useful. Third, choose the load you can control and actually progress with. Here's the practical rule. Pick a weight that allows you to perform the exercise with controlled technique while making the final part of the set genuinely challenging. Then, track it. Because if you're doing 12 reps today, 12 reps next week, and 12 reps again next month with exactly the same weight and exactly the same effort, something probably needs to change. Maybe the weight increases, maybe your reps increase, maybe you add another productive set, maybe your technique improves. The point is, progression. More weight is only one form of progression. But what if light weights feel terrible? Here's something people don't talk about enough. Light load training can become extremely uncomfortable when you take the set close to failure. That burning sensation can make a set of 20 feel much harder than a set of 8. So don't choose light weights because you think they're automatically easier. Sometimes they're not. But there's another advantage. Lighter and moderate loads can be easier to control on certain isolation movements, and they can make sense when using very heavy weights would cause your technique to break down. So instead of asking, what's the heaviest weight I can move? Ask yourself, what's the best weight for this exercise, this rep range, and this goal? Now let's make this extremely simple. If your main goal is maximum strength, bias your training toward heavier loads. If your goal is muscle growth, use a range of loads that allows you to train the target muscle hard, maintain good technique, and accumulate productive training volume. If an exercise feels better with moderate or lighter weight, use it. If a stable exercise allows you to progressively overload it with heavier weight, use that too. You don't need to pick a team. Team light, team heavy. Forget both. Your muscles aren't checking the label on the dumbbell. They're responding to the training stimulus you're consistently creating. And there's one more thing you need to track. How do you know if your weight selection is actually working? Don't judge your program from one workout. Look at several signals. Is your performance improving? Are your reps increasing? Are you gradually handling more weight with the same technique? Are your measurements changing over time? Do your progress photos look different? Are you recovering well enough to train productively again? These signals matter far more than whether you used a 20-kilo dumbbell or a 15-kilo dumbbell on one random Tuesday. And if you've been training for months, but nothing is improving, don't immediately assume, I need heavier weights. Maybe your technique needs work. Maybe you're not progressing. Maybe your training volume isn't well organized. Maybe you're recovering poorly. Or maybe you simply haven't given the program enough time. The dumbbell might not be the problem. And this is the biggest reframe I want you to remember. The next time somebody tells you, heavy weights build muscle, don't automatically disagree, but don't automatically believe them either. Ask one question. Heavy, for what? For strength? Yes, heavy training has a clear advantage. For muscle growth, the picture is much broader. And honestly, that's good news, because you're not trapped inside one magical rep range. You have options. You can train according to your equipment, your exercise selection, your experience, your preferences, and most importantly, your actual goal. So if you've been training hard, but you're still not seeing the physique changes you expected, don't immediately add more weight. Don't add 10 new exercises. And don't turn every set into a battle for survival. First, make sure your training is actually giving your muscles a reason to adapt. Choose the right load, use good technique, train hard enough, progress over time, and recover enough to do it again, and again, and again. Because building muscle isn't about proving how much weight you can move. It's about creating the right stimulus, consistently. The best weight isn't necessarily the heaviest weight in the gym. It's the weight that helps you create the result you're actually training for. And if you've understood all of this, but you're still wondering why your muscles aren't growing despite training consistently, then that's the next problem you need to solve. Because training hard and training effectively aren't always the same thing.